Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma and Brian E. Roach.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, joined here with my good buddy, colleague, and pal of one, Mr. Brian E. Roach. Brian, what's going on, my friend?
I'm just hanging out, looking forward to talking to you, looking forward to getting in the car Sunday morning and skedaddling to Pittsburgh and going to the home opener.
Yeah, man. I'm pretty geeked up for this one. I always get nervous, though. You know why? Not because of the game. You have a little less to worry about, but when I'm making this commute and, it's not like if I leave something at home, I could just go back and easily get it with the tailgating, setting up the whole party and everything like that. So cross my fingers. I've already been going through the checklists and everything, making sure, like Santa, making my list. I'm checking it twice. And we're gonna find out.
I got you.
Who's naughty and nice, right?
That is the big difference. I don't do the tailgate thing. I just go park in a parking lot and walk to the stadium. So if I
need to get your butt over.
The only thing I have to worry about is if I forget, my wallet. Then I'm in deep trouble.
No, if you forget your phone now, because you can't, like before, if you had paper tickets, you were kind of screwed. But
who could forget their phone? How is that even possible? Isn't it like literally connected to us? Don't we actually feel like we're not complete?
You've got the Apple Watch and it's constantly,
If you leave the house without your phone, aren't you like the minute you walk out the door, you just have a sense of incompleteness, like something is off, something is missing. What could it be? And of course, it's your phone, because you can't live without your phone.
You pretty much can't do anything without it. So that's what we were talking about with a little bit of the overseas travel. But I'll table that for later, because it's like my phone's got to work while I'm there. I need that to at least work. And we've got a game. We've got a home opener coming up. Pittsburgh Steelers, Seattle Seahawks, Sunday, Acrisure Stadium. I still can't get used to saying that, even though I don't technically say Heinz Field anymore. I just kind of want to say like something generic, like the Steelers Stadium or Pittsburgh Stadium or something. Like Three Rivers worked really well.
My daughter just says Heinz. She refuses to say Acrisure. She just says, the Steelers are playing at Heinz this week, right? And I go, no. And she goes, yes, they are. And I'm like, yeah, I guess.
Well, let me set the stage here for this game. Steelers come in 1-0 record against the Seahawks, or 0-1. The Steelers winning, of course, a 34-32 shootout over the Jets. Aaron Rodgers having 4 touchdown passes. The Seahawks dropped their opener at home, hosting to their own division rival, the San Francisco 49ers. And that was a 17-3 struggle bus for both of those teams, where you had the 49ers. Look, 49ers were dropping like flies. And I'll tell you what, I was just thinking about this as I'm prepping for this show, and I'm like, I was talking about Cooper Kupp and how, he's a new Seahawk here, but I'm like, he would have been better off staying in the division and going to San Francisco for as often as, he's injured and not available, and maybe the help that the Seahawks need. So Sam Darnold, of course, coming over from winning 14 games with the Vikings last year. He's the new quarterback in Seattle. He only had 150 yards passing, 16 of 23. So this is still an extension of the preseason. Both teams are trying to find themselves. But of course, Aaron Rodgers and company, I think they impressed a little more than we thought they would on the offensive side of the ball, keeping in stride. Making his debut in week 1, Aaron Rodgers, a couple of notes here, recorded his 28th game with at least 4 touchdown passes and no interceptions. That ties him with Tom Brady for the most in National Football League history. He also has 507 career regular season touchdown passes, and against Seattle, he could surpass Brett Favre, who has 508 passes for the fourth most regular season touchdown passes all time. And Rodgers also can pass Phillip Rivers, who currently has 63,440 yards. Rodgers is probably going to need about 300 yards in this game, roughly. It just maybe just shy of that. I'm not doing the math. I'm not putting up the graphic for that right now.
Good. Don't do the math. We know from last time that you're not necessarily a mathematician.
63,196 versus Rivers, who has 63,440. So 440 minus 196. I could use AI.
I told you, don't do it.
Smart
Don't
devices.
do the math.
But that's sixth most for the regular season passing yards in NFL history. Now, the series, this is the 22nd overall, 21 in the regular season meeting between the Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have a 1-game overall lead in this series. Regular season, they're tied. So that tiebreaker is that Super Bowl going all the way back. Yep, Super Bowl 40. So 12th regular season meeting between the teams in Pittsburgh. The Steelers have a 5-game advantage in regular season matchups played in Pittsburgh. They're 8-3 at home. The last time these two teams met at home, the Steelers won in 2021, 23-20 back in New Year's Eve 2023. They won in Seattle 30-23. Those teams look nothing like they did in either of those two seasons, 2021 or 2023. Neither of those teams. I mean, you go back, it was like Pete Carroll before, and then Geno Smith and Russell Wilson was there, and it's just completely different, right? Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, now 184 wins in his 19th season, 184, 107, and 2 ties. He's 4-2 against the Seahawks. Mike Macdonald, off of the Harbaugh coaching tree, having worked with both of them, right? He was with John and Harbaugh as a defensive coordinator, and then he was at Michigan. They plucked him from Michigan when
stop saying that word.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to say Jim Harbaugh. That was the dirty word to me, but you're right. They're both equally dirty. If you're new to this program, folks, we're Buckeyes here. We don't talk about the university up north. So
up north.
Yeah. But Mike Macdonald has never faced he's in his second year. He's never faced the Steelers, obviously. It hasn't lined up. He was 10-8 last year. Their team just missed the playoffs despite winning 10 games. They overhauled a whole lot of stuff. So let's get into some of the, you know what? I have some fun stuff. Let's do this first, Brian.
Fun stuff?
Yeah, this
what
is a little more.
What the hell are you doing?
This is, we are going to... It's your favorite segment.
Maps. Yay! I'm so happy now.
Maps with Brian as he disappears.
Yay!
So we've got Sunday 1 o'clock. This is on Fox. It's a Fox game. So there's some goofy stuff going on at the beginning of the season because you had Browns Bengals were on Fox last week. Steelers were on CBS. Now you've got we could still hear you opening the can there. Jeez.
I was trying to be quiet.
That thing's never quiet. Those things are like
protein,
jet fueled. Ooh, that looks good. I might actually try that. Does it have a flavor to it?
This is just vanilla.
Just vanilla. I've got a sidebar here real quick. I found them at Walmart. I forget who makes it, but they have these cereal flavored proteins. It's like literally drinking the milk at the bottom of like the Frosted Flakes bowl. Pretty decent stuff considering the protein's usually nasty and it's like drinking sawdust, but I digress. Let's bring up the map, Brian, for this 1 o'clock game on Fox, Acrisure Stadium.
Map.
This is Adam Ammon, Mark Sanchez, and Christina Pink is the field reporter. So that's not going to be the best coverage. The Steelers.
Adam.
He's got like 2 first names. Adam Ammon.
It sounds like Wolverine's claws, man. Adamantium.
No, that's
that adamantium?
I thought you were talking about Logan himself. No, it's Adam Ammon. I wonder what his middle name is. But all in the green. So there's not as many people. If you're watching this and you're not up in the Pacific Northwest or immediately like, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and part of West Virginia there, and a little bit, I think that goes into like Roanoke, Virginia. That's about it. Yeah, good thing you are going, my friend. It gets out to Harrisburg, but then Philadelphia and all that. Being Fox.
What's the red?
I don't know. I don't have. This is from 506 Sports.
Why aren't you prepared? You need to give me the colors. I need to understand.
Because we only care about the Steelers game, right? You get the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys if you're in the red.
All right, well that makes.
And then Chicago and Detroit in the blue. Detroit, and the yellow is San Francisco. New Orleans.
Wait. Chicago and Detroit is in the blue.
Yes.
Go back.
Yeah.
What the hell does the Everglades need to do Chicago and Detroit?
I don't understand how they carve out certain areas like that. But if I remove the southern Florida, I have like a second home or just outright go for nicer weather. I always look there and I'm looking at the map. I'm looking at like Arizona and stuff, you know, for my later years. I'd be absolutely screwed. And don't forget about it. I don't want to be anywhere near Texas where they show these. How about them Cowboys, right? How about them? But.
Ha. Cowboys, ha.
If you're listening if you want to follow the radio feeds, folks, of the Pittsburgh Steelers, of course on their Steelers audio network, we'll have that posted over the weekend at steelcityunderground.com with all of the local affiliates. You can get it on the app. You can get it on SiriusXM, the local call with Rob King doing the play-by-play, Max Starks on analysis, Missy Matthews on the sidelines. Nationally, though, more than likely, if you don't get the local feed, you can catch Steve Levy and Sal Palantonio on ESPN Radio. The Steelers feeds on Sirius 106, XM 232, 826 if you're tuning in on the internet. Your referee for this game, Scott Novak, who I don't have anything otherwise to say. Steelers are favored by 3 points with an over-under of 40, and we still have a little bit more business before we maybe get down to talking about individual matchups and stuff like this, because I want to cover this before we do, because it'll come up anyways. Derek Harmon out again, it looks like. Yep. I know there's some others that popped up on the injury report later after the game and whatnot. Malik Harrison was one of them that's more than likely not going to play.
He's on IR.
Yeah,
right?
Well, yeah, they moved him to IR. Actually, what was the other transaction with that? There were two.
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson to IR and Logan Woodside to the practice squad as a potential QB3 emergency quarterback. Yep. But they are optimistic Joey Porter will be available to play, and as well as Nick Herbig. Herbig was limited, but Porter was a DNP. Kelvin Anderson illness, did not practice. TJ Watt was a resting veteran, did not practice. Cam Hayward is a resting vet, was limited. Derek Harmon, of course, as mentioned, also did not participate. And the other name that we will mention later, because there was another transaction that corresponded with all this stuff that transpired. Deshaun Elliott appears to avoid
Mr. Peppers.
Yeah, a major disaster here. Elliott may only end up missing maybe 2 games. They're hopeful he could be back for the Vikings in Ireland. So
that would be good.
Yeah, that would be very good. I was actually, obviously recipient of a knee injury in the past myself. I was quite surprised by this, because as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, gee, I like wince when I see this stuff. I don't like seeing anybody get hurt. It don't matter which side of the field, but Elliott, maybe Elliott was one of the reasons. I don't know. I'm not going to pin it all on Elliott not being there, but a major communicator. He was one of the reasons they moved off of Minkah Fitzpatrick, and they gave him a contract during the off season. So in terms of communication and what was going on there on the defense, I think some of it was just they weren't playing. Some of it was they weren't prepared for who they were playing against, et cetera, et cetera. And we're going to kind of get into some of those things with our key matchups for this game. So where should we start there? Maybe we'll jump right over to Steelers defense and Seahawks running game. Yeah, offense, but probably running game, because McDonald is still in that same. Like I said, he's one of these he's a Harbaugh disciple. They want to run the ball more, and that's what they did, or tried to do anyways, against San Francisco. Hard to compare. I can't be like, well, San Francisco does this, but do as best I can, because he had only 26 attempts. They didn't get a lot of offense here. 23 pass attempts, 26 running attempts. They only ran for 84 yards, 3.2 average overall. The main guys here, Zach Charbonnet, 12 for 47 at 3.9. That's healthy. It's almost a 4. That's about where you want it. Kenneth Walker, 10 for 20, only a 2.0 average. Yikes. 7 and 8 yard long. So you had a couple scampers by Darnold and a few other guys that got some carries, including Jalen Milroe, quarterback. So some interesting stuff going on with Seattle, but I would expect them to be very run-centric, seeing as that's what they were doing against San Francisco. Darnold, although he completed 69.6% of his passes, that's 16 of 23 for 150 yards. He wasn't really pushing the ball anywhere. So this is going to be, can the Steelers clean up defensively, and is this a get-right game against Charbonnet, Walker, and that Seattle Seahawks offense?
Here's what I think. This is not... From all appearances, this does not look like a team that can run the ball very well right now, right? They may improve, they may get better, but you would expect the Steelers to perform better against this group, probably have not as good an offensive line as the Jets have. I don't look at those running backs and think they're better than the Jets running backs. And I think in theory, just at face value, this should be a better end result. They should do a better job. But what this is really going to do is tell us how good or bad, well, not necessarily good, but really do tell us how bad the Steelers' run defense may or may not be. If they get gashed again this week, they're bad. And we just have to accept that and figure out how we move on and get better and hope that, when Derek Harmon gets back, that helps and improves. I don't expect them to get gashed this week. I'm just saying. I'm holding my breath a little bit because I just don't know if they're that bad yet or not.
Yeah, Seattle did like a hard reboot on their team after not making the playoff. They got rid of Geno Smith. They moved on. Derek Metcalf. This could be a Derek Metcalf revenge game against the former team. They were able to move off them pretty much, and also Tyler Lockett, and completely reboot that because of Jackson Smith and Jigba, who we'll be talking about here momentarily. But you're kind of right here. I agree. You've got 2 first-round picks or former first-round picks on the left side of their line with Gray Zabel, this year's first rounder, and then Charles Cross back from 2022, former college free agent last year. Jalen Sundell is the center. Anthony Bradford and Abraham Lucas are on the right side of the line. They're kind of middle round picks, so they kind of mix of talent. It's kind of the same things that the Steelers got going. You've got like a first round pick that doesn't like maybe live up to the billing. You got another one that's still kind of in their first real playing time. The same thing's kind of going on with Seattle, so I expect it to be a little messy, but that should favor the Steelers front, you would think. Keanu Benton hopefully plays up, because can you really hold out? I mean, Derek Harmon, I've got some thoughts about Derek Harmon, right? And when he does come, and I was listening to different opinions, Steelers Nation Radio, ESPN Radio, Pittsburgh, this and that, and I think it was Chris Adamski. He said it, and I was like, he's absolutely right that you're like holding out hope that this rookie could come in and fix this entire thing. However, it does remind me of about 12-ish years ago, 2012, 2013 Steelers. I remember they brought back Brett Kiesel. He wasn't there in training camp. And I remember a young Cam Hayward, who was a first-round pick, who wasn't playing over like a Ziggy Hood, who was also a first-round pick, and a couple other guys on a defensive line. And when Cam came in there and he had a little bit of veteran help, boom, it just started clicking. So never say never, but man, it's a tall order, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't want to put all your hopes on Derek Harmon, but you can realistically hope it helps, right? And that's the best you can hope for, is that it's going to help. If they gel and all of a sudden they're way better than we anticipate, that'd be great. I'd be extremely happy.
I'd be extremely happy too. I also heard from like Adamski or somebody that most of this offense for Seattle was all Jackson Smith and Jigba. We just talked about being Ohio State guys, somebody that we are familiar with. Yeah, I know, but he's like, the ball is only going in one direction. They took a tight end in the second round, Cooper Kupp. He had 3 targets. He caught 2 of those for 15 yards. And Jigba had 124 yards receiving of the 150 passing from Sam Darnold. He had 9 catches, 9 of the 16, over half of the passes. They all went there. So I was kind of thinking in my head, I'm like, now they're talking about whether you play Kupp on the outside, which he did, and Jigba's better in the slot, but Kupp's really a slot guy, whatever. Do you just stick Jalen Ramsey on him and let him trail him and follow him all over the field? Because Ramsey could play anywhere. The only way I say maybe not is they might need Ramsey to kind of slide back and play a little bit of safety, but maybe he follows them for a good 3/4 of the game and just roams around the field, and we lock him down, and then force you to run the ball, force you to pass. And I just think that the pressure is going to be on Sam Darnold. I think the Niners got to him. Let me see how many quarterback hits. Let's see, there was 2 quarterback hits, just 1 sack. It felt like there was more to that, but they did force 2 fumbles in this game also. So let's see here, Brian. Go ahead.
This should definitely, I was gonna say, for the outside linebackers, for those guys, this should be a game where they can get to the guy, right? They can. There you go. We were talking about my creaky chair. My chair was creaky right there. But essentially, this is a more static guy. All right, Darnold is not. He's not Justin Fields. He's not going to run around the same way Justin Fields could. He probably doesn't have the same level of escapability that Justin Fields does. So you've got more of a target for them to actually try and rush at. They should have better success against Sam Darnold and getting to him.
I would think so as well. Taking a look, there's some guys in the secondary are banged up for Seattle, and I'm just trying to think about, Rodgers was slinging the ball around, and you have some of the starters like Witherspoon, Julian Love. They're banged up and on the injury report either as limited or DMPs heading into this game. So can Aaron Rodgers spread the wealth around again and have something similar? Maybe he can, but you know what the Steelers need to do? They need to run the football. And they need to try and run the football. There is Leonard Williams. There is DeMarcus Lawrence, Jerron Reed. They've got some dudes on Seattle that are on that defensive front. But, man, if you're going to protect him and you don't want Broderick Jones to pass protect, you need to run the football. Like, we need to get Jaylen Warren going here. Does Kenneth Gainwell get as many carries as well? So I think it'll be interesting. I was going to finish that off by saying Seattle had actually held Christian McCaffrey 22 carries and 69 yards, a 3.1 average last week.
But still, that's a nice number.
It's a nice number only because it's 69. It's not a nice number.
Nice.
Hey, you know what? The odd thing is if Warren ends up running for 69 this week, I think he doubles up from the previous game against the Jets. Yes. That's ugly.
I will tell you this. I agree with what you're saying. They need to run the ball. My confidence that they will be able to run the ball is extremely low. I think that they are going to try for sure, but it is going to come down to whether or not Aaron Rodgers can do something close to what he did last week as to whether this offense is going to move. I don't believe that they can run the ball right now, and they need to figure that out.
They do need to figure that out. Let's move to our X factors then, because I think might have hit that twice. I thought we were in the 2 box and talking like Scott Hansen from Red Zone now. The 2 box, the 4 box. We're gonna go to the 4 box. We don't have a 4 box.
We don't have a 4 box, and we don't even have a 3 box because Zach never comes on.
You know what? I just spoke with him. I know people were dropping in the comments, and he's close. He's been really busy with real life with work and stuff like that. So he's got some big boy responsibilities, and he's itching. He's itching. I was talking to him.
I'm sure he is.
I have a topic on here that actually I'm going to reverse it just because I was talking to him about this, and it seems like the right place to bring up. I said fever dream that is this Pittsburgh Steelers off season. It's like all of the players that we've thought about it, and we're like, yeah, it's like fantasy football. You can't possibly get Jalen Ramsey. You can't possibly get Jonnu Smith. You can't possibly have Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf. And now, like, another player that just was dropped by the New England Patriots as a surprise, really. Jabril Peppers signed to the Steelers, and I have reason to believe that they were already kind of looking. And I know they had signed Chuck Clark, and he made the team, and Clark is coming off of, like, he had an injury, but he had a major, there's familiarity because he played with the Ravens, but he had an injury that kind of was a setback, and nobody was really, hammering his phone lines. And who knows with Peppers too, but we know that the Steelers did their homework on Peppers back in 2017. That was the TJ draft, right? Where they went, where the Browns Browns had like 3 first-round draft picks, if I'm not mistaken, back then, I think. Jabril Peppers being one of them. And I want to say, who else was part of that? That was also David Njoku, and I'm going to look this up because it's bugging me. I want to say there was like some crazy quarterback pick or something. No, it might have been somebody on the line. Let's find out, because it's like everybody passed on Watt. You talk about the Steelers had a very late. Oh, that was the Myles Garrett. They had the first overall pick.
Yes.
They actually took Peppers 25th and then jumped back in and took Njoku, and everybody thought, oh yeah, they should took. Everybody thought that Njoku was going to be a Steeler. Everybody thought Peppers was going to be a Steeler. They were linked to looking at these athletes. You know,
not everybody. I never thought Peppers was going to be a Steeler.
Really, even back then,
no.
even back then, because the very next year was the Terrell Edmonds pick. Mm-hmm. And that was something where I was giving that thought, and you may hear this from other things on the radio too, because when I was doing my morning walk, I was listening to SNR, right? And I was like, SOB, they're on the same train of thought as I am with Jabril Peppers, except I think Peppers is better than Terrell Edmonds was. But they were like, you know, if Edmonds was a later pick, or if Peppers was like a second or third round pick, everybody'd be like, oh, that's a really great player. But because he was a first round pick, they were first round picks, there's like this higher standard that they're supposed to aspire to be. And he's only 29 years old, but this guy, he's violent. He's the hit stick on Madden. He is I think he's going to be more than just somebody that's there for depth and just somebody. I think he's going to hang around, and I think he's going to get some playing time, because I mean, this secondary is looking legendary right now, especially if everyone's healthy. So even when Elliott comes back,
you know what? Wait, I'm going to stop you. Don't say stuff like that. You know why you don't say stuff like that? You don't say stuff like that because then what's going to happen is stupid Sam Darnold will light them up for 450 yards because you said they're legendary. Don't do it. Don't do it, Joe.
I'm not Tony Romo over here, Chris Collinsworth, you know, doing the kibosh and jinxing everybody. But yeah, I mean, I'm just talking about from you remember everybody was like, oh, the Steelers have all these first round picks, even when you go back with like Joe Hayden, and when they signed Joe Hayden, it's kind of what it reminds me of here. It's like, just like load up. You've got somebody that's experienced, that's played about 100 games in the league. He could possibly even get back into a returner role. He used to do some of that. I think he's going to have to be on some special teams, even though we were talking about Tomlin doesn't really do that with their defensive backs. But I'm sure it's maybe part of the conversation that they're having. But we got to, you know, this is important because Deshaun Elliott's definitely going to be out for a few weeks. And there's nobody else there. It's either that, or it's either you have Chuck Clark and Juan Thornhill, who are still new to this team. Clark has been here not even as long. He joined during training camp, like a few days in. They saw something, probably with Sebastian Castro, who's the very next option on the practice squad that they could call up, and they're just like, And then also Miles Killebrew, who we know is a special teams guy. You don't really want him out there. So I'm excited. I'm not looking for Peppers to be a guy that plays 100% of the snaps, but I am looking at him as being some type of contributor on this team. And I mean, when you're talking about contributor, just look at Ben Skoranek. Contributes, not a major superstar, but what? Had a touchdown out of the blue. Fumble recovery, Kenny Gainwell forced the fumble. So this is just, it's been an unbelievable year when it comes to the Steelers and just going after certain players and getting like pretty much anyone that they may have scouted or had their eye on in the past. They just keep loading up.
I will tell you that I am less optimistic about this than you are. And the reason is because I don't know why he was cut. I don't know why he ended up released. I don't know if it was contract. I don't know if it was money savings. I don't know if it was they had younger guys in the position, because it's the Patriots and I don't care, right? But, you know, when you're cut from a team like the Patriots right now, it immediately opens up questions for me about, okay, and while I'm hopeful that Jabril Peppers still has some juice left in the old orange to be squozing, is that a word? Squozing out.
We're gonna have to consult the Scrabble dictionary on that one, my friend.
English. We need a new graphic. English with Brian.
Not the Queen's English either.
Yeah, not the Queen's English. Just made up crap. But I don't know. I don't have expectations. I guess that's where I'm at. I have hopes, but zero expectations for what he will provide.
See, I mean, I'm not trying to say he shouldn't. You would think he wouldn't be out there and available to sign, but at the same time, I don't know. There were some weird things, like Justin Simmons was out there, and just, you know, there were a lot of, the safety position's been odd for years, where there's players and there's talent that just sit there and they may not even have a job week one, or they may be late additions in training camp, and they may be, you know, proven players. And I've always thought that, you know, the safeties could hedge on being a little bit older in the league, and
they can. That's why
corners,
older cornerbacks transition to safety. They can definitely be a little older. It's not the age, right? It's not like there isn't any one quantifiable thing that I can go, I'm not confident in Jabril Peppers. It's just I guess keeping realistic expectations that I don't have expectations. I hope he's a contributor.
I'm trying to figure out if there was anything with money, but I was going to say it doesn't appear. I mean, they saved some money, but it wasn't like a huge contract.
I don't know. Maybe he slept with the coach's wife. I don't know.
Well, what I was going to say is like, yeah, they've got a new staff there, right? What's his name from last year was canned after a year. Taking over for Belichick, so they have a whole new crew there, and he might just not fit into the mold of what they're trying to do.
Maybe he called Vrabel some kind of a name and said, and Vrabel was like, "Get him out of here, I'm done."
Yeah, but I mean, you're looking at him or Chuck Clark, and I'm not sure which of the two is like a lesser of two evils. But I think if you have either one of them as like an additional, this is why. Okay, so this leads into like James Pierre also being signed and activated up because maybe Porter has like a tight hamstring or anything like that. Plus, Pierre plays special teams. But everybody's like, why not Beanie Bishop? And Beanie, he's pretty much, a one-trick
slot corner, period.
He's a slot corner, and there's no slot for him to play in. Ramsey's going to be there. Eccles can do both, so he's a backup there. And if you need some other bodies to line up on like a tight end or anything like that, you've got Clark and Peppers now, especially when Elliott hopefully returns to full health, right? So that's kind of where I was at with the Peppers thing. It's like you're adding somebody else that, you know what, he may surprise. Now, I'm not expecting a whole lot, but it also wouldn't shock me if that Ramsey hit we saw last week, or you've seen DeMonte Casey like lay out people last year. That's what Jabril Peppers brings to the table, and the first time that any of you can see that, I think they're going to be fans. So that leads us to our other X factors, Brian, for the game and some of our predictions. Let me talk about there's two guys I have here as X factors, and we talk about contributors and role players. Nick Herbig, who we're hoping gets to practice some because he's been limited, but I think he brings at this point, he brings a lot more to the table than Jack Sawyer, a rookie in a reserve role. So it would be nice to see Herbig get back on the field. And then one of the other ones, we've seen I like Calvin Austin a lot. Make no mistake about it. But I think we've been a little overzealous in saying that the Steelers solved their wide receiver 2 issues after just one game. Rodgers certainly feels confident in him. One thing I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt with Austin and Roman Wilson is this. You go back to 2010, and the Steelers, they draft Antonio Brown, they draft Emmanuel Sanders, and you have a proven commodity still under like a rookie deal with Mike Wallace at the time. Mm-hmm. You have no idea who Antonio Brown is yet. And maybe we don't want to know present day, but we're just talking about his playing days in Pittsburgh, right? And then Manny Sanders, too, who had constantly had like a bum foot or some type of foot injuries the first couple of years. And that's why Brown got playing time, because Brown, he made a Pro Bowl as just a returner that his rookie season, if I'm not mistaken. So that 2010 year when they played Green Bay in the Super Bowl. So I see Austin and Wilson in kind of like that same category of, we don't know who they are yet. I'm not saying that they're going to live up to the status of either of those players who they might not be Hall of Famers, but they were pretty darn good football players, like world class or top of their class or in the top 5 of their position more than 1 year for a few year period, especially when Sanders went over to Denver, right? But we don't know. Maybe Austin could be there, but after one game, it was kind of the same thing like you were saying earlier. Okay, pump the brakes a little bit on this. So I'm looking at Calvin Austin. I'm looking at Nick Herbig. I don't know if I stole any of your two picks here for some X factors.
No, Nick Herbig is the one that I was going to really lean on, and the reason being, I think it was pretty clear in the limited screen time that Jack Sawyer actually got and the limited number of snaps, he didn't make an impact, right? And not that you expect a fresh rookie to make an impact in his first game, a guy who's, a later round pick. But he didn't look like, he did look a little bit at times like it was a little too big for him right now. I think he'll grow into it. I think he'll be better. But not having somebody like Nick Herbig, who's been there, done that, come in off the bench is going to be a big deal when TJ or Alex needs to be spelled, right? And the other one that I have is actually Jonnu Smith.
Nice.
I actually think that Jonnu Smith could be a major factor in this game as they start to get more comfortable. If they're trying to load up on run, I think they're going to try and work him in more to how they do things. I mean, he got several targets in the last game, and I think he's going to get a lot more. And he brings a different dynamic to the tight end position than anybody else that they have at that position, including Pat Freiermuth. I mean, I love Pat, but there's a difference between the two and what they do. It's not exactly the same. So I think you get those two guys on the field, I think all of a sudden it really does. If you have Austin and you have DK and you have Jonnu and you have Pat, what the hell you do?
I've been saying that all year long too, and I know some folks
I mean, it really will depend on whether Rodgers has the time to let the plays develop. But I mean, clearly they can find some quick outs and some quick hitters and take advantage of the middle of the field, which was one of the things I forgot to bring up at the postgame, the fact that they actually threw the ball over the middle of the field a couple times. Wow. Wouldn't that be different?
Yeah, it would be different. I'm going to also add the two tackles, Troy Fautanu. I think for all intents and purposes, a pretty good game from the other linemen, maybe overshadowed with Broderick Jones. But if Broderick Jones didn't have all the activity on his side, would we have a spotlight on anyone else? I mean, I'm not sure that they didn't gel necessarily perfectly.
A little bit. I don't think there was a lot of push in the middle of the line.
Couldn't run the ball.
And that couldn't run the ball. So, yes, Broderick Jones was ass in the last game. I mean, that's what he was. He was ass. It smelled like ass, looked like ass. It was ass. Hopefully he's better than ass this game. And we'll see how it goes. Whoever McDonald, that guy just ate his lunch more than once. So, he looked like a rookie who hasn't played left tackle. That's what he looked like.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
We'll see. I mean, the offensive line is going to need to gel for them to run the ball. The offensive line is going to need to gel a little bit to give Rodgers some protection. If they are smart and they learn their lessons with Broderick last week and they start to give him a little help on the outside, that again provides, that could be just that chip, right? Put the Mount Washington out there and have him chip and then fade out. Put Jonnu out there. Put Pat out there. Somebody to just help give a chip for Broderick. That gives him just enough time, and then he leaks out and you've got something. I just think they'll find a way. I think they learned from the last game, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if DeMarcus Lawrence or any of the other Seahawks, Leonard Williams, we've got some seasoned guys on this defense. And then, Ernest Jones, Boye Mafe, and Tyrese Knight are the linebackers for the Seahawks. So, I mean, it's not like necessarily a front seven that may strike fear in you, but most of these players are returning from last season where they did win 10 games. So
Leonard Williams is a big deal in the middle there, and that absolutely will make it harder to run the ball, as if they needed it to be harder to run the ball. But what are you going to do? It is what it is. You face who you face, right?
Yeah. And they're going to have somebody every single week and we'll find somebody. Well, maybe we will find somebody to talk about on the Patriots. Maybe we won't, but there'll definitely be guys on a lot of the other teams. Most of the teams in the National Football League, save for maybe 2, 3, 4 teams that are trying to figure things out from the very bottom. Giants, Titans, maybe the Patriots you throw in there. Maybe you have somebody that's rapidly descending like the Miami Dolphins. We don't know. They could be having a free fall right now. It was not a good week for them. The Panthers are just still constantly spinning their wheels.
Is that the worst game on our schedule, Miami, you think?
It might be. It might be because, when you're initially looking at the schedule and I think that's where you have some of the misconceptions too with last week. The Jets have been such a doormat for so long. I like what Aaron Glenn's doing there. I like his message and everything else. Although he's cutting the guy or supposedly cutting the guy, they brought in a different kick returner after that fumble. You won't have a job. You can't do that with everybody because, well, number one,
eventually you won't have anybody left on the team because they're all going to fumble at some point.
It's kind of a volatile locker room, and everybody's going to be looking over their shoulder. But then you start dealing with guaranteed money and dead cap and stuff like that. So you just can't. Yeah, aside from trying to field a team, but let's see, Patriots, Vikings, Cleveland Browns. We'll see what they do this week. They got the Ravens. So we could jump in, we're in our predictions right now. I think Baltimore at home, after the way they lost in Buffalo, they're going to be pissed off. And I don't know that Cleveland's going to know what hit them. They're going to get smacked by a tornado because, the Bengals defense made it look pretty easy for the most part against that Cleveland Browns offense, which isn't necessarily a good thing.
Let's just say this. Let's say this. This is also the same team. Now, look, there is no Josh Allen on the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry, there's not. But they did also give up 41 points last week. So
they did, and again,
I'm a Browns fan for the first 2 weeks of the season, and they blew it in the first week. We'll see. I'll be a Browns fan. I'll be a Browns fan on whatever day it is.
Sunday.
They play
Sunday. So they what I was going to say is you got Zach Gore once again as the D coordinator. They had to bring in help. I think Dean Pease came in as a special coordinator last year. They changed some things around. They had to move some safeties around. They did like a hard reboot that I wish sometimes the Steelers. That's the one difference between the Ravens and Steelers, that when Harbaugh has these kind of things, they weren't afraid. That 1 year Cam Cameron reminds me totally of Matt Canada, and they sent him packing right away and turned some things around. Steelers usually sometimes it takes Tomlin about twice as long to pull the trigger and make those kind of changes, if he does it in season at all. Sometimes he won't. They won't touch it whatsoever. Very, very few and far in between. And I'm talking about whatever benching someone. It's probably where we're at with Broderick Jones, to be completely honest. He's probably going to stick with them. This was the first round pick. This is his first time playing left tackle. We're probably going to see this. The bye week is early this year too. It's week 5 after the Dublin game, the international game.
Really super annoying.
So when do you get like a logical break in the schedule? You get a Thursday night game at Cincinnati, and then you get a mini bye where you're going to come back around for Sunday night football with the Packers. So if this continues to look ugly, the offensive line, and there's not a whole lot of places to go with this. You got the 2 Andersons, and you've got Pete, who's been playing guard, or hasn't actually been playing at all for a couple of years. He's been a reserve guy, and you're going to throw him in to be a starter. Do you flip him? I don't know, man.
He played left tackle in college.
He did, but is Jones a better right tackle than a left tackle? Where he played in college was on the left, and you have Fatanu, who was playing for a left-handed quarterback as a blindside protector. I don't know the answer to that.
I'm just saying, you're right. I think the clock is ticking for patience with Broderick Jones after that performance, because it wasn't that bad. We'll see if it continues down that path, then we'll have to do something, because you can't have a turnstile there. Rodgers got hit a bunch of times, and when you got old dudes back there, you can't let them get hit a bunch of times.
Then the arthritis is going to. That's Arthur Smith's cousin, arthritis.
Yes, arthritis.
Yeah, he's going to start visiting in December in the cold weather. So yeah, and I think you're right. Unless the Bears turn it around, which they flopped, they looked impressive through 3 quarters. You might be right. Dolphins might be the worst team on the schedule this season. So Bengals have the Jaguars at home. So the Jaguars are going there. The Bengals are going to wear orange and all this stuff. I mean, I'm kind of leaning toward Jacksonville, although we don't know how bad Carolina is just yet, or Carolina was that unprepared. They also had to go down to southern Florida and play in, where it's warm and everything. But their offense looked decent, and you got Liam Cohen, that was the offensive coordinator from Tampa. And you've got, guys like Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr. and ETN put up like 150 all-purpose yards or whatever last week. Maybe that ship's turning around. They might surprise Cincinnati, but maybe, I don't know. Can Jacksonville slow down all those receivers like Cleveland? And I don't think they got the same kind of horses on the defense to do that.
Exactly. I mean, I still have a decent amount of respect for the Browns defense, right? I don't have much respect for their offense, but I have a good amount of respect for the Browns defense in the sense that I still think it's a good defense, a solid defense, and an AFC North type defense. So they're tough, and that they know the Bengals. Jacksonville's not going to be the same thing, and I do wonder that, right? This is a game that, if the Bengals, I don't remember who it was. I was watching somebody who said they thought the Bengals defense actually got worse. It might have actually been Roethlisberger's podcast, where I was watching footballing with Ben, and he might have said he thinks that the Bengals defense is worse than it was last year. And I was thinking to myself, wow, man, I really just don't know how they can be worse. But if he's right and they are worse, then that's a game you should take the over on.
Oh yeah, that's where I was going to go with this.
Jacksonville's offense is way better than I think Cleveland's offense.
I mean, I got the Steelers winning at home. This one could be the low-scoring game we thought it was going to be last week. A little uglier, maybe. Over under is 40. So we might be, and that's 20 apiece. I could do that one. It's right down the middle.
What did we get last time? 60, 66?
Something like that. I know, and I was thinking it was like 16 apiece. They'll never score 16 apiece. They had 16 apiece in the first quarter, so like on each side. So we'll see. Keep an eye on the injury reports there, folks, too. But Brian, you have the Steelers at home too. I mean, it's a West Coast team coming over.
I expect them to win this game.
Yeah,
I expect them to win. Wait, the Bobble's 1-0, so we got to see. Is it gonna? What are we gonna do? It says Bobble says yes. Steelers victory. Yes.
Sounds good to me, my friend. Folks, thanks for joining us once again here on the Steel City Underground podcast. For our watchers, or viewers, I should say, our viewers watching on YouTube and or our one Spotify feed, and then all of our audio listeners, thank you for supporting the platform. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Joe, and his name is Brian. Here we go, Steelers, 1 o'clock, Sunday kickoff in the Steel City, Pittsburgh hosting Seattle. And you've got one other note.
One other note, just because we brought it up last time, the ticket's gone, so nobody gets to watch with me.
Yeah, maybe, but there may be
down the road there'll be other opportunities.
There will be other
opportunities. So
absolutely. So stick around. Some guys are giving away baseballs on a Steelers podcast, or WWE items, and here we're offering a once in a lifetime experience to sit next to Brian E. Roach as he cusses.
Yeah. I don't cuss. I don't cuss at the game. I cuss at home. I don't cuss at the game.
You text me.
I do. Yeah. I text cuss. I will say all kinds of stuff on the telephone there, on the texting. But I'm very quiet. I shouldn't say I'm very quiet. I am not unruly at the game because I choose not to make myself a spectacle that others will find annoying whilst I'm at the game.
Others pull out their phone and they're like,
I don't need to do that. I do that
familiar.
I do that in the privacy of my own home. That's when I act a fool.
I think years ago I sent you a gift. It was like the foam brick to throw at the TV. I wonder if that thing still has any life left to it. Oh, you have 3 of them.
I have 3 of them. But
three TVs or 3 bricks? Or yes?
I have 3 bricks. I have a very nice TV, though, and I won't even throw it at it. And I just won't do it.
Just throw it. You just like, you're ready to do it. But I know the feeling.
Throwing it at the ground a lot. So.
No, that's like the kids. Like, even when I was a kid, I'm like, I'm not going to throw my Nintendo controller on the ground when I get frustrated at the game, because and I break the controller, and Mom's not going to go out and buy me another one. So I learned that lesson at a very early age. So, folks, that little addendum for our 2%ers. Once again, thank you for watching or listening wherever you may be. Till next time, my name is Joe. That man right there is Mr. Brian E. Roach. And as always, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.